Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Professor Hall and today we're going to be talking about professional writing. 10 tips for better communication. So as I mentioned before, the structure of this class, I wanted to give you guys some building blocks first, and then we're going to look at specific types of professional writing, and then we're going to look at specific types of technical writing. So we've already looked at an overview of what technical writing is and what professional writing is. Then we looked at summaries and responses, one type of writing that comes up in professional settings and in technical reports. And today, I just wanted to go over some basics of professional writing. So we're not talking specifically about types of documents, just some tips for better communication in the workplace. An overview, as it says on there. What's wrong with this email? Subject. Update? Ted, I sent the invoice 5 days ago. Where is the payment? Seriously? WTF, Ted? You literally have one job. Send money now, Amy. Now, if you're laughing at this, or if you just covered your ears because I blew out your eardrums, sorry about that. This is actually based on a real email that I saw from someone that not that I worked with, but someone that I worked with for their writing. And they showed me this email. The names have been changed. So first, what tone is Amy using here? Well, we talked about having a neutral tone, and Amy definitely doesn't have a neutral tone. She has an angry, aggravated, frustrated tone. And is this how she should talk to a fellow coworker? No, absolutely not. Will this type of email get Amy promoted in her company? You know, it sort of depends. We're going to be doing a project, possibly, depending on what semester you're listening to this, or if I've revised it. We might be doing a semester on workplace bullying, and sometimes this type of thing does get people promoted initially. But for the most part, no, because if someone acts unprofessional in the workplace, especially in writing, where things can be documented, they're not going to be promoted. This also affects office culture, and we're going to talk about office culture in a little bit. Office culture is extremely important in a workplace. You don't want to work in a negative, toxic environment, which is clearly the type of environment that Amy is sort of creating here. How would you respond if you were Ted? I think, to me, the person who showed me this email, I was like, oh my gosh, what did you send back to them? Because it made me like almost irrationally angry. First of all, what invoice? I don't know what the number is. I don't know how much it's for. You're using bad grammar here with the letter, like the letter U here, right? Not to mention the random capitalization. And I think one of the problems is that these types of emails go around in a workplace, and then the person who gets them responds in kind, meaning that they respond the same way. They respond also angrily, and then it kind of escalates. And then you've got people who work together who don't want to talk to each other, right? What do you think would happen if Ted forwarded this email to Amy's boss, Jessica? Hey, Amy, or Jessica, by the way, one of your employees is writing to me in this manner. One of your employees is disrespecting me. One of your employees creates a toxic environment. I can tell you what happened to this individual, and it was bye-bye Amy, and it happened in about 2-3 weeks because she was sending emails like this to everyone. So how about this one? Subject, update. This is based on another email that I saw from someone else who I worked with, but again, names changed to kind of be the same, right? Hey, Ted. So, I think I sent you that invoice like 5 or 6 days ago. Do you know the one I mean? I can't totally remember the number. Anyway, if you could look that up, it would help because we're still waiting on the payment and Jessica is pissed it's not in yet. Hugs, Amy. So, totally different tone, right? But does she seem like a competent employee? I think probably in this case, and the original email that I looked at, she was really just trying to be nice. But she came off as being totally incompetent, and again, unprofessional, but in a different unprofessional way than the first email we looked at. Will it help her get promoted in her company? No, absolutely not, because she doesn't look like she knows what she's doing. She's also disrespecting Ted in a totally different way. The first one disrespected him as a fellow employee. This one disrespects his time. Do you know the one I mean? I think it was a couple days ago. Could you look that up? Ted probably gets many invoices every day. And again, how would I respond if I were Ted? I'd be like, tell me the number and then maybe I'll get it to you, right? He's not going to be happy. He's going to be quite angry. And if he forwarded it to Amy's boss, Jessica, well, now we have a little tidbit here that Jessica's pissed, which isn't very complimentary. And again, it makes her look incompetent. So how about this one? I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but let's take a look at the first few lines. Okay, Ted, I recently started using the overdue invoice reminder feature on my service, and I think I could be like totally misunderstanding how IP and Contrap communicate. My goal is to have the task schedule a reminder email every 5 or 60 days. As the invoice, well, that's a big range, as the invoice is marked overdue. Hey, sweetie, I forgot that part. I forgot to read that part. So, that's the first problem. Hugs Amy from the last one, a little bit overly friendly, right? But here, it's rambling. Amy says down here, and the part I didn't read, sorry for rambling twice. Does Ted have time to read this? No. And we're going to talk more about clarity and conciseness in tech communication, but in professional communication, also important. You're disrespecting Ted's time with this email. Also, we have the signature, almost as bad as hugs. Love, Amy. Hey, sweetie. Now, I'm going to tell you, even if they are dating, not appropriate in a work email that a lot of businesses have emails that are tracked, right? And they look for different wording like this. So it's just not appropriate. The office culture it reflects, if they're not dating, is something where there are no boundaries, and people are disrespecting poor Ted. And again, Ted might be angry. He might be confused. He might be like, TLDR, I'm not dealing with it today. Too long, didn't read. I don't have time for your nonsense, Amy, no matter how much love you're throwing my way. So, the first tip is professional writing should be professional. Webster's dictionary defines professionalism as the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark the profession. I'm going to erase this, sorry. I'm all over the place here with my writing utensil. I need a new one, to be honest. I'll probably get one by the next PowerPoint. I don't normally like using the dictionary, but here I think it is the content, aims, or qualities that mark a profession or a professional person. Specialized knowledge and academic preparation. That's how they're defining a profession. So things that professionalism encompasses: special knowledge, competency, honesty, integrity, accountability, and self-regulation. We're going to talk about all of these as we go on, but you know, the first couple of emails, we don't see this. We don't see that Amy has specialized knowledge. We don't see that she's competent. She seems possibly dishonest. And the first one, maybe trying to blame Ted, not taking accountability for her actions, and certainly in all three, not regulating her emotions or her words. Her first email is screaming at Ted. She's unable to control herself and her emotions. You don't want to have a boss like this, and I can tell you one thing, bosses like this do not last very long, and you don't want to be that type of boss either. So making sure that you control your emotions in your writing. One of the tips that I tell people when they're doing professional writing is that if they are upset or angry, not in an email, because that can accidentally be sent, but in a Google Doc or a Word doc, write everything that you're feeling or thinking, okay? And then think about the next day or a couple hours later, which parts of that are actually relevant. So if you do have an actual complaint, control those emotions, especially in your writing, where things can be forwarded, things can be printed out, they can be given to your supervisor or the other people that you work with. She accused Ted of being incompetent, and in other words, she didn't treat him like a fellow professional. I see that a lot in people's writing. And when I say I work with these people, I don't mean at the school where I teach, but I also sometimes do consulting. So I've seen things from people that are not as professionally written as they should be. In her second email, Amy missed the mark on competency and accountability. It's Amy's job to know the invoice number and the date, not Ted's. It makes it seem like she doesn't know what she's doing. Tip number 2. Professional writing supports a healthy company culture. Now, in some industries, I know some of you are thinking about going into accounting or into banking. We have a couple people who are culinary or fire protection, computer science people in our class. Or if you're just watching this and you might be in a business, or you're going into business if you're in my class as well. A healthy company culture is going to be important. It's going to affect how business gets done, employee satisfaction. If you have a company that has a bad company culture or a toxic company culture, you're going to have a lot of turnover. You're going to have to be constantly training people. The thing is that there are some industries where a healthy company culture affects more than just the bottom line, affects more than just profits. So if you're watching this and you're in human services, you're in education, you're going into a field where you're working with people, a negative company culture can impact your clients in ways you didn't expect. So you have someone who is, let's say, I think I used foster care in a different presentation, but let's say you have you're overlooking foster care, and you have to deal with Amy's incompetence and look up invoices and things like that, and because of that you don't do as many visits as you should to your foster families. That's a huge problem, right? So you have to support a healthy company culture with your writing, and if you write professionally, you're going to encourage others to do the same, to treat you in kind. So if you want to maintain a healthy office culture, you should remember that you're writing to people that are on your team. It's true whether you're a colleague, whether your colleague is a peer, a subordinate, a supervisor, or a professional outside your company. So if they're on your same level, if they're below you, if they're above you, they're still on your team. A lot of times I see problems with communication in business because people forget that they all have the same end goal, right? Let's say it's a regular business that makes a product. Your goal as a team is to make a profit for your company. That's it. So even if person A thinks differently than person B, and even if they have different ways of getting there, that's their end goal. And if you can come at it looking at that and saying, look, they want what's best for the company, I just think it should be a different thing, or we should go in a different direction. Let's talk about this logically. That's where you get really good technical reports, things like doing a feasibility study or doing a white paper, looking at what your company policies should be. If you're working on the same team, communication is a lot easier. It goes for relationships too. Emails and other documents that are loud and demanding result in hurt feelings, anger, and a toxic office culture. Do not use more than one exclamation point or question mark. That's the biggest thing. Similarly, emails and documents that use phrases like "love Amy" or "hey sweetie" are overly familiar. It's the equivalent of the picture, there it is, on the right. No one wants to be that touchy-feely coworker, and especially in today's day and age, you have to be careful with how you word things, because you don't want somebody to feel uncomfortable, you don't want someone to feel like you've overstepped their boundary, and you certainly don't want to be accused of sexual harassment. Your office culture should promote healthy boundaries and professional behavior, which means that your written communication should be concise and respectful. And honestly, those two things go hand in hand. If you are concise, you are also being respectful, typically. So let's revise Amy's email. Subject, invoice update. A lot of times people leave the subject blank, and then for the person reading it, it's really confusing. Ted. Recently, we began using a new overdue invoice reminder frequency system. I noticed that invoice 1728 is marked as overdue. I sent the invoice on 7/12/19. Payment was due 3 days later. Is this a system error, or are we still waiting on payment? Jessica and I would appreciate an update as soon as you're able. Thanks again for your help on this. So how is this different? Well, number one, we have a professional opening and signature. You don't really need Dear Ted. And you can have Sincerely Amy. You could have Thanks Amy. You could have Best Wishes Amy. Any of those would be fine. Amy's tone is professional. Her words don't ramble. They're not incoherent. So she's respecting Ted's time. She also, and this is to me, there's two really important things. First, that we have the invoice number and the date. Okay? The second thing is, she puts the question here to Ted. Payment was due. Is this a system error, or are we still waiting on the payment? So Ted has the option, even if he doesn't want to be honest or have integrity, he could say, sorry, there was a system error, payment is coming. She really leaves it open for him. Or he could apologize and say, it's not a system error, sorry we didn't get the payment in, it's going to be there in 3 more days. Right? She says, thanks again for your help on this as well. And as I mentioned here, maybe he was out of the office for a few days. Amy doesn't know. Maybe it wasn't even supposed to be sent to him. Maybe someone else is responsible for it. So treating him like he's incompetent, it might not even be his fault. In any case, Amy's setting this email up to encourage Ted to fulfill the payment. She's not shaming or blaming him for not having done so. She also thanks him for his help and acknowledges that they're on the same team. It's a lot more positive and upbeat than the first couple versions. Tip 3, consider your audience. To whom are you writing? We're going to be talking about audience in nearly every type of writing that we look at in this course. Who is your audience? It's going to be very specific. What information do they need to know? Can you give them the information in the most concise way possible in order to respect their time? How can you do that? Think about that before you write. One of the problems that I see when I consult with people who work in companies is that a lot of times they're not thinking before they write, and they're not drafting either. So even, draft a quick email first in Word or in Google Docs or whatever platform you're using. Draft it out. And then say, oh, can I cut this? Can I cut that? You should still be revising. It's just that it happens a lot faster pace, right, than academic writing where you have weeks and weeks. Or days and days, depending on your teacher. How can you demonstrate professional attributes? So how can you show that you're knowledgeable, that you have self-regulation, that you're competent? How can you start or close your email in a way that's respectful but not friendly? Overly friendly. Friendly is fine, just not overly friendly, not crossing those boundaries. Really what you want to do is be somewhat upbeat, kind of like the last email we looked at. The other thing is, how do you want your recipient to respond? This is important because the way that you, the way that you phrase something, you are looking for a specific response, and you can kind of urge them toward a specific response. Like Amy's email was the last one. All of them were trying to get Ted to pay the invoice, right? The last one, though, really got the point through in a clear, concise way and was encouraging. So he's going to respond in a positive way. He also probably has a good opinion of Amy. Sorry I messed up on your invoice. It's going to come to you as soon as I can. He's going to respond to the first Amy a lot better than he would, he's going to respond to the last Amy The last email we looked at, a lot better than the first one where she's shouting and yelling, right? He might even say, you can wait for your payment for 3 more weeks. I'm not paying you right now, just because he's mad. If another person were to see or read your email, would you feel comfortable? Many times you're going to have someone monitoring your emails. You're going to have things printed out. You're going to have things given to a supervisor. Maybe things will go in your file. So think about that before you hit the send button. Think about all of them really before you hit the send button. So revising for audience. Hey Jamal, did you get that monthly report? I can't remember whether I sent it. It's been like so crazy here. My dog died a few weeks ago and it's been like really hard to concentrate on work and stuff. So if you need the monthly report, just let me know. I'll try to find it or finish it or whatever. Here's Ben's problem. Ben is writing in a conversational tone. This is the kind of thing that he might say to Jamal if they were face to face, and they might chat a little bit about the dog, but in an email, it's really not appropriate. Again, this goes for other professional documents too. I just think, emails in this context, it's easier for me to use them as examples because they're shorter. This is also based on a real email, by the way. So here is the revision. Hi, Jamal. I was supposed to send the monthly report last week. Unfortunately, I forgot to attach it to my previous email. I'm sorry for the mistake. Please find it attached here. If you need anything else, just let me know. Thank you, Ben. So here, Ben keeps his audience in mind by being professional. He demonstrates integrity, honesty, and accountability. He is being a stand-up guy. He did not send the report that he was supposed to send. And I'm going to assume that he actually did make a mistake and forgot to attach it, which can happen sometimes. And not that he's lying. Just forgot altogether. So tip 4, consider your tone. We talked about this a little bit already. Tone refers to the emotions behind your words. Your communications should be confident, sincere, and appropriately friendly. Don't use all caps! Just 1 period, exclamation point, or question mark per sentence. Really, more than that, I think people try to convey urgency or they try to convey tone. And in a technical or professional communication, you don't want tone in there. You want it just to be informative and somewhat friendly, upbeat. An exclamation point can be used well to convey a friendly, upbeat tone, but it should not be used for yelling or demanding things. Don't be snide or condescending. Again, these are professionals who are on your team. Remember what your grandma said, or at least what mine said. You can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. People are going to respond to you better if you're nice and kind and friendly than if you're sour and mean and bitter. Kindness and sincerity causes your reader to react usually in the same tone, and they're going to react more quickly because you were nice and professional. Oh, this is Abraham Lincoln. A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. So with men. If you would win men to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. There in the drop of honey catches his heart, and that, say what he will, is the high road to his reason. So be a little bit friendly, get people on your team, and they'll kind of do what you want a little bit. Remember, if someone sends you a rude or unprofessional communication, you still need to maintain an attitude of professionalism. It's not like when you're driving, even though it should be, somebody cuts you off, so you beep at them, they flip you off, you rev your engine, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to escalate a situation. And you want to show that you're, even if they're being mean or angry, maybe they're having a bad day. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're like that all the time, but you can still show that you're a better person. Leave the emotion out of your response. Don't accuse them of being rude. Keep your feelings out of the email. Don't get defensive. Now, if you have somebody who's rude constantly, consistently, all the time, then you can take that to the next level. Maybe talk to them personally and just say, hey, some of your emails are not as polite as they could be. Or if they don't respond well to that, you could talk to their supervisor. But they really shouldn't be in your correspondence. So here's Jamal's response. Ben sends the thing about his dog, and Jamal says, Ben, I don't know where you get off sending me ridiculous BS emails about reports you screwed up on, but believe me, I forwarded all that to your supervisor. Get your act together before you email me again. Or let's say that Jamal got Ben's email about his dog dying and didn't know what report he was supposed to send. Here's the response. Hi Ben, sorry to hear about your dog. Unfortunately, I have a lot of reports each week. I receive a lot of reports each week. As a result, I cannot help you with the report until I know a few more details as to which report you're looking for, what day it was due, etc. I recommend resending the document. It's possible that if you did send it, the attachment didn't come through on my end. In any case, resending will be our best option. Thank you, Jamal. So first, Jamal showed concern for Ben's dog, even though the comment about the dog was kind of unprofessional. Then he is firm with Ben without being rude. You can send the details or resend the report. Those are the two actions that Ben has the option to take. But his best option is to just resend the document. Jamal shows that he and Ben are on the same team. And again, he gives him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the attachment just didn't come through. Right? In any case, just resend it. That's the easiest thing. So it moves Ben with a professional tone, even though Ben wasn't as professional as he could have been. Ben. Tip 5, be clear and concise. The cat was chased by the dog versus the dog chased the cat. Use short sentences. Have short paragraphs. If it's a longer email, just put 3 to 4 sentences to break up the information. Helps with readability. On a screen, especially if someone reads their email on their phone, it can be really helpful. Have that space in between each paragraph. Cut out all unnecessary words, redundant phrases, repetition, things that are repeated. Remember that hedging is saying things like, so, like, and also, kind of, in my opinion, I think, I might. Take that out. It makes you look kind of incompetent. Kind of. Very incompetent. Professional writing is not really the time to show off vocabulary. So, esoteric words, those $10 words, obscure acronyms. Your vocabulary should be formal and elevated, but not convoluted. You want people to be understanding you right away. So here's the original text, just for the sake of time. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Here's our revision. One thing among many other things. Among many other things is the same thing as one thing, so we don't need it. The current generation of young people, those approximately 10 to 25 years old. Well, the current generation and young people and 10 to 25, again, all the same. Truly remarkable and to be admired, same thing, cut it, is that so many of them are interested not just in getting jobs that make a lot of money, but also in finding a purpose and really making the world a better place. Anytime you have a word like really, very, probably, you can cut that. Not only for themselves, but for other people. Again, kind of repeating the idea of making the world a better place. Whether living in our country or living abroad, again, the world's a better place, especially in third world countries. So we went from, wrong way. Right now we've got, there we go, We've got 89 words. I backed up and then I went forward. Sorry about that, guys. We have 89 words in this paragraph before the cuts. So, round 1, here's version 2. Just with those cuts, I got it down to 49 words. One thing that makes those approximately 18 to 25 years old truly remarkable is that so many of them are interested not just in making a lot of money, but also in finding a sense of purpose and making the world a better place, especially in third world countries. Good. All right, 49 words. We cut 40 out. It's a little bit more clear. And here's version 3. Studies show that young adults ages 10 to 25 want jobs with a sense of purpose where they can make an impact on the world, especially in third world countries. So much better. This first part here, approximately 10 to 25 years old, truly remarkable, is that so many of them are interested. That whole messiness is all gone. So 27 words, boom, point is made, and it says the same thing better than the first version, which was 89 words. Cut more than half, almost 2/3 gone. Tip 6, write for the job you want by making your writing more formal. It's like what they say, dress for the job you want. So I walked in dressing better than the boss. Got can be received. Need can be require. Talk about, change that to discuss. Get in touch becomes contact. Make sure, ensure. Give versus provide. Travel plans versus itinerary. Let them know versus inform. Tell them why versus explain. Talk more, elaborate. Fix the problem, solve. Now these are all synonyms. Sometimes if you're writing a technical document where you want more simple verbiage, a word like got or give would be fine. But if you're writing a professional communication, I said before, not a lot of convoluted words, not big vocabulary words, but these aren't really big vocabulary words. These are words that are just a little bit stronger and a little bit more success driven than the first versions there on the left. Write like a boss. I'm not gonna read this, but you can see the words there. Totally have a meeting. There was an incident. Incipient. People are pretty upset. Well, first of all, we've got the wrong there. We've got incident spelled incorrectly. We've got the word pretty, which we don't need to. So we should totally have a meeting about the group home. There was an incident in the community, and now people are pretty upset. One idea, we could have training on safety procedures. This could make people feel safer. Maybe we could get in touch with that woman who told us about the incident. I forget her name, but she might have some interesting ideas about what the training should include. Thoughts? Question mark. Maybe that's one of those hedging words. We can get rid of totally, we can get rid of pretty, and we need to find out about what's her name. So here's our revision. Hi, Angela. Let's set up a meeting to discuss the recent incident at the group home. I'm concerned for the safety of the clients and for community relations. That's a lot better than people in the community are pretty upset. I want to implement a series of safety trainings to better protect our clients and give others confidence in our program. We have now strong words: implement, protect, confidence. That's, again, better than make people feel safer, right? Let me know when you're available. I'm free Thursday afternoon or Monday morning. Once we set a date, I will contact Lindsay Shaw. She reported the incident, and I'd like her feedback regarding what procedures we should include. Again, a lot more clear. And in the first version, it seems like Angie might be Casey's boss. The second version, Casey comes across much more like Angela's boss. And to be honest, this is, again, based on a real situation. And I can't remember which it was. If it was the boss who wrote this and wanted to, revise her writing, or if it was the person being supervised, the subordinate. I can't remember, and it doesn't matter, because you can see the difference in the writing makes it at least look like, if Casey's not the boss, she'll probably be promoted soon. Tip 7, jargon. So what is jargon? It's vocabulary peculiar to a particular trade, profession, or group. It can also be defined as unintelligible, meaningless, or convoluted talk. So one, I forgot I have that little thing of slang over there. Slang is a little bit different. When you want to elevate your vocabulary, you don't want to fill your writing with pretentious gibberish so that your audience can't understand what you're saying. The rule is particularly important when you're writing to somebody outside your company who might not understand industry terms. So if you're writing to somebody in your company, using an acronym might be okay. If it's outside, it might not. Slang is a language that is informal and playful and changes over time. So depending on where you're watching this, I ship them so much. Preach. Slay. She threw me some shade. That's slang. It's playful. It changes over time. There's this great movie from the 1930s where this character goes up to his dad and goes, "Hey, Daddy-o, we got a 23 skidoo." And his father's like, "What?" And people today are like, "What?" Because that was particular slang to the time period, right? Now it sounds silly. Same way if I said, "I hope you think this presentation's groovy." We wouldn't use that really today, right? Oh, there we go. 23 skidoo is from the 20s, groovy is from the 60s, tubular is from the 80s, and they all kind of mean the same thing. They all kind of mean awesome, great, fantastic. Slang should not be used in a formal business setting. Which is worse? Linz, we should totes meet up. You slayed in that meeting yesterday. Woot woot! I was so jelly. Hashtag work goals. Anywho, I wants to chat about the OER stuffs. Let me know when you are free. Laters, B. Hi, Lindsay. As an FYI, the HRM and the CEO were impressed with your performance yesterday. We should meet on the OER issue before the COB tomorrow. I think OER could up our ROI, and if we fill out the correct BGT and AR forms, it would be helpful. Let's talk AYEC best, Beatrice. The first one. The first one's obviously worse. But in the second one, Lindsay may not understand some of that company jargon depending on her position in the company. And maybe you don't either. So for your information, human resource manager, chief executive officer. CEO is a pretty standard acronym to use, but OER I use because that's an education term. So open educational resources, you might not know what that means. COB means close of business day. ROI is something that you should know, return on investment. And then there's budget, accounts receivable, and at your earliest convenience. So you could have an email with CEO, HRM, and ROI to a person in your company. There's no reason not to write out budget and AYEC at your earliest convenience. A person even in your company probably won't know what that means, right? So be careful about that kind of thing. But you don't want the slang or the jargon in there, really. That's the lesson here. Tip number 8, please do not hit reply all unless you have to. Respect your coworker's time. Your supervisor might send out, or your coworker might send out an email to many people. Don't hit reply all. Nobody wants a cluttered inbox with loads of emails that they don't need. If you hit reply all again, I will find you. For example, instead of creating a calendar appointment for a meeting and inviting attendees, Janice sends a massed email. Can you all make it? She asks. There are 24 people on the list. 23 of them answer with 1 or 2 lines, usually yes or no. Meanwhile, Jake's been working with clients all morning. When he comes back to the office, he sees he now has 23 emails to sort through in addition to the 6 pressing emails he actually has to answer. This cost Jake an extra 15 minutes of work, time that could have been spent working on the 6 emails he really needed to work on. So it might not sound like a lot of time, but in a high pressure business situation, 15 minutes can mean a lot of time. Think about how much you get paid per hour. Break that into a fourth and ask, is it worth, let's say you get paid $20 an hour. Is it worth $5 of my time to sift through emails from people who hit reply all? No, it's not. It's not worth $5. It's not even worth 50 cents. That's the answer. Stop and consider before you BCC. BCC means blind carbon copy. When you BCC someone, both that individual and your intended recipient can see the email. Just means that whoever is in the BCC line, the person who's receiving the email doesn't see that you blind carbon copied it. So in some ways it can be kind of dishonest. In a toxic, unprofessional workplace, someone emails a coworker and they BCC a boss. So they allow the boss to kind of digitally eavesdrop on this conversation. So it might sound like a small issue, but it's really not. It's not appropriate behavior. And in business, integrity and transparency are vital. Blind carbon copying somebody goes against those principles. The same goes for secretly forwarding an email. You're sharing private emails without one of the parties in the thread knowing. So don't really forward that unless you absolutely have to. Or unless you've told the person, hey, I need to forward this to somebody. Just FYI. The CC or carbon copy, you can do that instead so that everybody can see who the communications are being shared with. BCC is really used in two situations properly, and it's really intended for this. First, if you're sending a mass email like with Janice that we looked at just above a little bit ago, and you don't want people to reply all, then they only reply to you and they can't see who else is on the list. So it's kind of a kindness to them. Second, if you're sending a mass email and you want to maintain everyone's confidentiality. I actually do this quite a bit. I have another job where I work with a number of writers. And so sometimes when we have a policy change, if we're announcing a new product, we might send a message to all of our writers. They don't need to necessarily know each other's emails. And so because of that, we want to keep their confidentiality. Some people might be ghostwriting, so they don't want their names really known at all. And so then we BCC everyone. And again, then if they respond, they're just responding to me. Tip 10, proofread. Thanks to all those who correctly used your, there, and there. We're going to talk more about proofreading later, and we're going to do some work with grammar. If this is something you struggle with, I always recommend that there are some tools that can help you. You can run everything through Google Docs or Microsoft Word first, so do a spelling and grammar check. It takes a little bit of time and practice. This is kind of like if you have a graphing calculator and you don't know what buttons to press. It'll show you the mistakes, but if you don't know whether or not the suggestion is correct, you might not always know how to correct it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about grammar and how to know what to fix, how to know if their suggestions are correct. You can also, so you can type everything like that first and then copy paste it into an email or into a memo or whatever communication you're sending. The other thing you could do is Grammarly. There are paid versions of Grammarly that are more for people who are writing longer things where they don't have time to proofread, but the free version of Grammarly works with Google Docs and Word and most email programs. So it'll check for you while you write. There it is. Grammarly is for every one. Replace the word. Take out that space. Just everyone. The thing that I like about Grammarly, the reason that I recommend it sometimes to students, is that it gives you details about your grammar or spelling errors. So Microsoft Word just kind of says like, oh, take out this space, or oh, this might be the wrong there. They don't really explain it to you. Sometimes Grammarly gives you explanations that can be really helpful. There's also an app called the Hemingway app. That's another free tool that you can go online. That reduces complex sentence structures. I might do a little demo of the Hemingway app for you guys because I think it can be very useful for technical writers. I sometimes use the Hemingway app for my technical writing. I just sort of run it through just to see, hey, do I have any complex sentences that I can, reduce down even more? I also used it for my children's book that I wrote. I have a book that I originally started writing for an older audience, and when I rewrote it for a younger audience, I wanted more simple sentences. So I wanted things to be more clear, and it can be really helpful for that. So, practice time. We're not going to look at proofreading quite yet, but we're going to focus first on audience and tone, and then we're going to look at clarity in writing. So, you have the 10 tips, and we're going to talk more about audience and tone. We're going to talk more about clarity and conciseness, and then we're going to do some practice in our class. So, that's it. If you guys have any questions, you can always email me or stop by my office. And I hope to enjoy reading your work. Thanks.